Holla holla, it's your boy George Billionaire, and such an amazing thing. Just look at this vendor right there wearing the Pro Air cap, and it's amazing to see that our brand is really out there, and people are representing us and doing the most. But back to us, Hustle Hard Monday. And last week we were talking about an amazing topic. Everywhere I go, I love to see people wearing Pro Air. I'd love to see people wearing that Proverbs 3 verse 5, that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways, not some, but in all your ways, acknowledge God and He will guide your path. So it's an amazing thing. I'd love to see that people out there are receiving our brand, they're supporting us, they are moving billboards. But back to the topic we spoke about last week. Nothing changes until you change. And let's look at your life right now. We're halfway through the year. We're in the month of June. What has changed from the beginning of the year? Now, nothing is going to change, ladies and gentlemen, until you yourself decide to make a deliberate point of action to change. What are you doing to change your life? What are you consuming in your mind, in your body? What type of people are you hanging around? What deliberate things are you doing that are definitely going to cause a changed outcome at the end of the year? Well, this is why you're here, and this is what we're going to be talking about today on the show as we go in to provoke, inspire, and equip you by giving you some mental software upgrades through this amazing show called Hustle Hard. Every single Monday. If you haven't watched all the Hustle Hard series, make sure you subscribe. Press that subscribe. Press that bell notification so that you get updates every single time we post a video. So now, let's get in the studio and you hear what we're talking about today.
That is hot bit. And now we get into Hustle Hard with George Billionaire. How you doing, George?
Holla holla. It's your boy George Billionaire. And always it's good to be here on the show every single Monday to provoke, inspire, and equip all the listeners, all the viewers around the world. And it's great to see the vibe and the energy in the studio. It was an amazing weekend, of course, for the organization I represent, Vira Vira Scotland FC. I know a lot of people never used to believe in it, but currently we are sitting nicely at the top, and good things lie ahead. But nevertheless, it's important that we proceed to give people what they need, which is some words of encouragement, and to keep people's mindsets where they're supposed to be. Because last week we were talking about an amazing topic which many fail to understand. And that topic is nothing changes until you change. Right? Nothing. Hakuna chino chinja. And it's amazing. We're already halfway through the year. And imagine, to all those people who began the year with New Year's resolutions, I want to do this, 6-pack, I want to diet, I want to start a business, I want to make money, I want to add zeros, I want to have so much that I want to do. If nothing has changed so far, it means you need to go back and actually do what you haven't been doing before, which is basically applying discipline. Because what people don't get is that when you do what is hard now, your life will be easier tomorrow. So when you are keeping on doing the same thing over and over again, that is what the dictionary calls insanity. Kupenga, thinking you are going to get a harvest without planting a seed. So truly, our pulsars listening, nothing is going to change until you change. So it's important that if we want different results, we have to be deliberate in changing certain things, changing our associations, changing our discipline, our habits. And I can tell you this, one of the greatest things I personally did 14 years ago, is I decided to leave my current place of employment, where I've told people many a times that I was earning $300. But because I saw something that I had witnessed from many people who are deemed successful in the country of Zimbabwe, they did what others were not doing. They saw something that they're good at, and they decided to provide a product or a service with it, and then their lives changed. And there are many listening today who may say, you know what, just like you, I used to work for 6 years of my life, but I decided to do something that was deliberately different. And now, can you imagine the number of people that I have served with Pro air conditioning? Had I not started, how many people would have not experienced the product or the service that we have? And this is the call to you as well who's listening. You never know until you actually do something. So it's important people realize this very important fact. There wouldn't be a Pro Air had I not started. There wouldn't be the mobile device you are using, the car you are driving, the food you are going to eat just now at lunch, had somebody not started. So nothing will change until you deliberately decide to say, you know what?
I'm starting.
I need to do something. And that's where it begins. But wakaramba uchichka, you keep holding back. You are going to live a miserable life where you are full of uncertainty. You are full of fear. You don't know what's behind the door of your fear. But if you do like what I did, to say, you know what, let me just try this with hard work and belief, I can tell you that now when people look for the products I do, air conditioning, my name pops up. Why? Because for the past 15 years, I've been heavily invested in it, which is also what some people listening today should actually begin to look closely into. And I've said this before on the show, and by the mention of a name, what comes to people's minds when they hear your name? What do people think about when they hear your name? And that's what we need to work at, because when we say Steve Jobs, when we say Philip Mataranyika, when we say Amai Rebecca Chisamba, when we say Ken Sharp, Philip Chiangwa, when we say, something always comes up, because it's important that people realize that you must be very deliberate with wanting to be known for a specific thing. So nothing will change until you decide to say, you know what, I need to be known for something. I need to provide a hustle that ultimately will take care of my life and my career and many more things. So people out there, nothing ultimately will change until you change. You need to make a deliberate choice to say, you know what, I have to do something different in order for something to change.
All right, so you're talking about change, and you mentioned, I think over and over again, you tell us how you got into your business. I want to understand, for somebody that's tuning in for the first time and they're thinking, you know what, because it's exhausting to do the same thing over and over again, especially if you know you're not getting a lot of money from it. At what point do I say, you know what, I'm done? Because do I need to save money? What do I need to do? If you're not a pulsar, if you're not a regular, I think Kanode Pulsar, you know he has told us this. But what do you do for somebody that's tuning in for the first time?
No, I think with so many things that are happening in the world today, I think one thing we've realized is that there's so many ways to make money. There was a time where you had to go and buy a product and resell it. But I think if you see what's happening now, there's so many, and we've got so many of them. We've got so many social media content creators that are out there that, you know, are making a lot of money online, right? People are making tons of money online. And you don't even need anything besides a handheld device. Create content, go around interviewing people, taking live videos of what you're doing. You monetize that and you actually make money. So gone are the days where our educational system, which I always go back to, which taught us that we must go to school, we must graduate, and then we go and get a job. But if you look at the percentage of people actually going out there after they've graduated and looking for jobs and not finding them, it shows you that there's something wrong. We are doing the same things over and over again, but the world is moving far quicker. Where now people need a specific service, product, which is different. You know, I can tell you that, and many people will relate to this, back in the day, people wanted to be bank tellers, right? Right now, if you look at it, when was the last time you went to the bank? When was the last time, you know, you can actually deposit money outside the bank now? So things have changed. You know, many people wanted to do so many things, but because people wanted to be designers and all this. But all these applications now have caused so many people who studied many years to become a designer. Now, ultimately, to not, you can just download an app and it will do everything for you without somebody telling you, no, for me to do a website for you, it takes, 2 weeks. But now it's done in 90 seconds. So things have changed in our educational system. I mean, things have not changed in our educational system, but people are still doing the same things and the world is moving faster. So I would say to people out there, we need to really look at, and technology is there. What are the most looked for jobs in the next 10 years? Focus on those specific things rather than going to university and studying sociology, things that don't practically make sense in a modern age where we live in. Let's be more focused on doing something that makes sense rather than just pleasing, to be qualified, but actually not having something tangible to do.
George, so last week when we talked about changing, you talked about how you must change, like as an individual, right? And you also talked about wishful thinking doesn't pay my bills.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Kuti, thinking like if we change our way of thinking, that's what changes. That's what makes the business go, right? So today we want to go deeper. Want to go deeper, not just why you must change, but what exactly to change. Yeah, that's what we want to talk about. What exactly to change and how to do it. Maybe you can just share a little insight on that, because last week I got to I'm sorry. But I know we want now to know what exactly to change.
Yeah.
And how do you know you need to change?
Yeah. So if you see a very simple way to see that maybe there are things that are not changing in your life from the beginning of the year until now, if you see you are still living the same life, there's nothing of improvement physically that has actually happened tangibly. You are still the same person. It definitely means that there's something that hasn't changed. And I tell you this, the difference between people who make it and people who don't is one simple thing. One side of people who then actually become great are people who are just tired of being in the same place and they wanted a better life. There are others who are okay. If you see other people, they are very much okay having an 8 to 5. They've got a steady stream of income, and that's that. Their mindset is happy on the, mindset that they grow up being told, get a job, get an 8 to 5. As long as you have a job, you're okay. So mindset is the most important thing when it comes to change. If you don't change your mindset, your life will remain exactly where it is, and you'll be okay. So change is an internal thing. It doesn't happen outside. It happens inside. So when you change what you think, what you feed on, what the people you are hanging around with, those are the deliberate things which will help you to go where you're supposed to go. So I can tell you this, and I've said this so many times, and the pulses are here. If you keep hanging around with chickens, you too will become exactly like a chicken. So what do chickens spend their day doing? They get fed, they wait for food to be put inside, right? They don't understand what hustling or going to look for food is. The food is put right in front of them, right? And then they are what are called egos, right? Chickens do not choose the food that they want. They are given what is there. But an ego can fly up, decide what specific thing that they want. And that is the same thing with us as human beings. There's somebody who's very comfortable, like I keep saying. They're very comfortable staying in the same place they were born in their whole life. They are comfortable going on the bus their whole life. And then there are others who want the other side of life because of their deliberate association. So one way you can definitely change your mindset is by hanging around with egos. Because most people, even myself, I can tell you this, before I started Pro Air, I used to hang around with some of my chicken associates. And the conversations was month-end, salary, Chimbondi Paul loan, Chimbondi, and those were the small conversations we had. But when I went on the other side and I started listening to the greats, they will tell you these big dreams. They will tell you about getting on a private jet and going country to country without going through, the proper airports. And it doesn't seem realistic until a time when it does make sense. And that's what is different. So mindset is everything. If you want to become an entrepreneur, I can tell you this. all you must do is to hang around with similar-minded people. But if you're going to be somebody who is just okay with being average, you're going to just remain talking to the same people. So it's very offensive because many people say, so you, George, you want me to lose my friends? And this is the simple thing. If you want to change your mindset, you must hang around with a different mindset from the one that you have. And I can tell you, if you do that, definitely you'll begin to see change beginning to happen in your life.
I got a message from Julie Naps. Anzi, I started a maid agency 2 years ago when my family relocated, and in the last year I started a toilet cleaning service at church for events.
Imagine that.
Oh,
So imagine somebody starting something and they're using their community, which is their church, to actually do something. And you know, for me, I always say, when you're shy of your hustle, you will never know what it will do. This is why I keep saying, had I not started Pro Air, imagine how many people's cars, homes, offices we've done. Had I not started, it would have just been George grew up in Glenora, he lived a life, and then that was that. But imagine how many people I've catered to because I decided to go the journey less traveled. So it's important you also decide, and this is what my major encouragement on this program is, to say that as much as you don't believe in yourself, there's somebody called Elohim, the Most High God, who created you for a specific purpose. To know that, you know what, I'm going to send this young girl, this young boy on planet Earth to provide a specific product. And for me, I was sent on this planet not only to speak these encouraging words to people, but also to provide air conditioning solutions to people. And because I'm fulfilling that, when I go and, you know, I'm up there in heaven, you know, God will be like, this guy fulfilled his purpose and mandate. But there will be others who will die full of reserve. They could have been. And you don't want, ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching wherever you are, to regret at old age what you could have started now. Because that is the worst thing that's going to happen to you very soon when you lose your job or when something happens and you're not able to take care of your basic needs because you were only solely relying on one stream of income, which is what my major encouragement on this show is, that if you're just going to rely on that job alone, there's going to come a time very soon where reality is going to click and you get that email, you get that phone call, the company closes down, and then yes, you can, with some organizations you may get a package. With most, it will just be thank you, and that's that. Then what are you going to do? You're going to reconstruct your CV to add the recent company that you worked for now, and then try and look for a job. And look at it right now. There are not a lot of jobs out there. But imagine if you had your little side hustle. You put a little bit of investment in that. It grows slowly. It begins to build up, and then it gives you something. So it's important people understand the secret in life is not dying average. It's about you doing something that brings change not only to yourself, but to your community, your country, and to the world at large.
All right, it is Capital 100.4 FM Marare's Heartbeat. And if you have any questions, do send them through on the WhatsApp platform 0719 100 404. We are talking about change, and we've been getting tips about how to change Iwewe Bajabu. So I asked a question, how do I know? You'd mentioned friends. What else do I need to know about myself in order for me to become a better person, to have a better mindset when it comes to growing?
You know, I say this, and I've said this to, you know, some of my mentees at the GB mentorship, and all of them have answered, yes, I do want a better life.
Sure.
My question to you is, are you happy where you are right now? You're not. Are you happy with your salary? No, you're not. Just Precious, are you happy? And this is and this is the question to all the pastors. Let me not make it personal here in the studio because now people are looking at me with funny eyes.
Hey.
Okay, pastors listening to us, are you happy with your salary? Okay, I heard a big no. So everybody out there, I can tell you, there's nobody who is happy with just their salary.
True.
But like I've said many a times, if you're a person who likes the better things, and you know when you like the better things, you see that lady pass by, you see her hair, the bag, you're like, wow, I like that. Kanongwe sure about wanting the better things. Just zeal. It shows you want a better life. But unfortunately, because you can't afford it currently, it shows you that, you know what, you actually want to drive a better car, live in a better neighborhood, take your kids to better schools. Everybody wants that. But the only way that will change is if you change the current habits you have today. And if your current habit is 8 to 5 your whole life, and you're not doing any personal self-development, you're not trying something new, I can guarantee you nothing is ever going to come out realistically. And this is why I say one of the key things that will help you to become a person who's better is your association. Now, I'll tell you this, when I wanted to go to the gym, I had to lose my friends who told me, gym, it's not like you get anything. But when I started hanging out with gym mates, they'll call you 5 a.m., they'll help you with the weights, and they would encourage you. But with some of your friends, there's none, and this is a major thing. Imagine you don't even have a friend you can talk about business. If it's about Goa, the latest gossip on the streets, you can talk for 2 hours. And that is a sign that you are hanging around with the wrong people. So it's important to you personally, and everybody listening, I know wants a better life. Think about it. What type of friends do you have? Do you have any friends who are successful? If you do, definitely, if you hang around success long enough, you too will also begin to understand the principles that made them become successful.
Your network becomes your network.
That's it. But for most of us, imagine you've got successful friends, but whenever there's a time and opportune moment for you to speak, there's nothing of substance that comes out of your mouth. Because remember, you are still chicken-minded and you are not like an eagle. So it's important sometimes when you're around eagles, try and deliberately not open your mouth, but more open your ears, not just to listen, but to hear, because those are two different things. Listening and hearing are two different things. Hear, understand what these people are doing. And if you do that, and most importantly, like what we emphasize on this show, if you begin to apply what you hear, you'll begin to see a drastic change in your life. So let's not just be people who think we're going to change by doing the same things we did over and over again. No. Change comes by deliberately associating with the type of people who you want to be like. And if you do that, then definitely your life will change.
So just a quick one. Everyone just kind of slips back, into old habits, What's like a recovery plan that you would suggest, just under a minute? Because sometimes I'm not going to with that business. Or you started chowing the man.
Yeah.
So what kind of a recovery plan do you?
So for me, I just say to people, discipline is one of the most important ingredients to success. Lack of discipline is going to lead you to have a very hard life. So every time month end comes, what you do with your money, and more so to me, what you do with your time, those two simple things show me where you're going to end up. So if you don't have discipline over your time and your money, you are basically telling me what type of a person you're going to be in years to come. So discipline is key. If you spend time gossiping, popping bottles, not doing anything that is of substance, I can guarantee you, I know where your future is going to be. But if you are diligent with money and your time, I can definitely guarantee you that you definitely are going to have a life that is going to be productive to many.
Thank you so much, George. So where can people follow you?
Right, George Billionaire Munengwa on all social media platforms, and they can see all the videos we've done on those platforms.
All right, someone said, I'm one with the Shell company, but what is stopping me is Rikwani Siro. But thank you so much. That's all we had on Hustle Hard. It is 1 o'clock on Capital 100.4 FM. Do stand by for the news.